Robyn, thank you ever so much for joining me for another episode on my series. It's lovely to have you. Now,
Thank you so much for having me.
before we get into all of the stuff that you're doing, we've been going through this whole, crisis or situation, with the coronavirus and we're slowly starting to get back into stuff. But how have you been keeping up? How did it affect you? How has it affected work or personally? How have you been?
Um, I think I'm always someone, and I've been this way since I was little, that always sees the positive in the most negative situation ever. So when it started out, I was very much positive, and I was trying to motivate everyone around me. But there came a time, and it was weird because we'd been already in lockdown for about 4 months, and I think that was like in July, August, where even I just felt so low. I didn't know why. And with work, there was just a lot of protocols. First day coming back was just a bit weird. You have to follow all these protocols of sanitizing your feet, sanitizing your hands, social distancing, masks, visors, that I think for the first few scenes, it took away from just being in the moment because you're thinking of being as far away as possible from the other person you're acting opposite. But once you get that out of the way, it's all good. But I think I've just been taking every single day as it comes, not forcing myself to have a schedule. And because if I have a schedule, I feel like I want to do it, and then when I don't do the things on there,
Yeah.
then it makes me feel bad. So just going with the flow, as we can only do, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I can absolutely relate to that. I think that I always try to see the possibility or the positive in stuff. But it has been sort of at times been really tough to sort of stay afloat psychologically and emotionally. So I can totally relate to that. Um, yeah. So you are now based in Cape Town, but you're obviously you're originally from Kimberley. Um,
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
yeah. So was growing up was acting always part of the dream?
I wanted to be anywhere in the entertainment industry. I started out singing. My granny is the leader of the choir at the church that we go to. And so I grew up singing in the choir. And naturally, I think acting became part of that because I was just obsessed with movies, and I wanted to see myself there one day. So whenever the church would have a Christmas play at the end of the year, I started out being like a shepherd or a sheep in the plays. And then as it progressed, my mother then started making weird Christmas plays that was out of the box, but still had the original um, message that we wanted to give to the congregation. And so I started to dig into such roles. Um, with school, I think I was more of a singer, honestly. But I would try here and there to do a bit of acting in arts and culture classes because we didn't have drama. But I think in a small town, when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You are so ashamed to say, I want to be an actress, I want to be a singer, because you're scared of what people are going to think that, oh no, you're from a small town, it's never going to happen. So you're almost
Yeah.
shy to say what you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
So I always said, I want to be a veterinarian and stuff like that,
Yeah. Yeah. The
until
usual.
it came time that I found I was bad at math. So I would never be able to go and study veterinary science. And then grade 12, I didn't know what to do with my life. And I just decided, you know what? You've always had this dream. Just go for it. Just go audition at the university and see what happens. And there we go.
Yeah, amazing. So you then went on to study in Stellenbosch, was it?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so that's where you did your studying. Now, you mentioned the singing. I actually the episode that aired, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, with the school play. And yeah,
yes, yes.
I thought, oh my gosh, that's actually what prompted me again to write to you. I was like, oh my gosh, what an amazing talent. Yeah.
Oh,
No, beautiful voice and obviously great actress. Um,
thank you so much.
but yeah, so you studied at Stellenbosch, and was it a while before you got some work, or was it quite quick after you finished your studies?
So I finished my studies at the end of 2018, and I had wanted to go into my honors because I was actually too scared to go into the industry. I was always during varsity the one who was quiet,
All
who
right,
sat at the back of the class, who didn't speak unless she was spoken to.
right,
So I remember in first year, I probably had about one friend in the drama department just because I didn't want to speak to anyone. I would go there, go home, that was it.
wow,
And so third year came and I wanted to do honors because I thought I wasn't ready. And I applied, I got in, but then I didn't have funding. And I didn't have enough to do honors, not even enough to help pay off my third year debt. So I was quite stuck last year in a place of, okay, what now? And I tried to go back to Stellenbosch at the beginning of the year to try and find some funding to get in. It ended up happening and I got funding, and then in a week it just fell back and I had to exit the department again. So I just didn't know what to do. And I it's actually just a weird story. I went to watch Ellen Pakkies at during Woordfeest at the cinema, and the director Darren Joshua was there, and we got to have a meet and greet with him afterwards. And I spoke to him and I just asked him, I was like, I'm in such a predicament right now. I don't know what to do with my
yeah,
life. How do I get into the industry? I want to take that leap. And he just told me, Robyn, you're just going to have to get yourself an agent. And that was what I did the next Monday. I looked what agency there was and I found one that I really liked. And I sent them a few of my material and my CV, and I got a response saying they wanted to meet me. And I got signed, and then I just started auditioning. Didn't actually, I think I auditioned a week later for Sarah's Geheim, and I got a small role in there. Literally, you see me for about like 30 seconds or something. And then I made the move. Yeah, I made the move to Cape Town in May. And 2 weeks after being in Cape Town, I auditioned for Arend's Play. I initially auditioned for the role of Sarki, the head girl. And then they had said, can you dance? I was like, yeah, I'd like to think I can. And they were like, we kind of see you for a different role. And 3 weeks later, I got the call to come in and audition for Monique. And so I would say everything happened very quickly that I
yeah,
couldn't even wrap my head around all of that quick. Yo, it was just so quick.
yeah. No, amazing. So you're obviously at the start of you've made a brilliant start to your career. Um, What kind of what kind of projects do you see yourself being involved in, or do you want to be involved in the next few years? Is TV the thing you want to do? Do you want to do movies, theater? Do you want to do more singing? What kind of thing do you see yourself doing?
Um, I think TV is something that I'd want to set myself in at first, especially in the South African industry. We have got such a beautiful thing happening right now in Cape Town, where a lot of colored shows are coming out, and
Yeah,
we get to be a part of that now, finally, with our stories coming out. And so that is something I feel privileged to be a part of at this moment. So a lot of generating material for TV with our stories there.
yeah,
Film, I when I'm ready, I'd like to. have that in my future, definitely. But theater is such a big love, my first
Yeah.
love, and I would love to go back into that. It's just I don't know how it's going to work now with COVID and all the
Yeah.
regulations, but I definitely think that when it comes back, I want to start writing some material as well, because you can't wait for opportunities and projects to come your way. So
Yeah.
maybe get into writing and stuff like that. Singing, I'm so shy. I don't think it's actually
Oh
going to
no!
happen.
You've got such a beautiful voice. There's nothing to be shy about. Um,
Oof.
but you know, you touch on the all these colored soapies. I mean, I think it's something that has been resonated by a couple of my previous guests as well about the fact that, like you say, there's this thing happening because I mean, I for instance remember growing up and you didn't really see. I mean, there were a handful of people who looked like you, but as you say, our story, hasn't really been told up until now, and I think that's sort of a really
Mm-hmm.
exciting thing. And it sort of leads me on to uh, some of a couple of the other things that have been going on in the world. 3 or 4 months ago, we had this horrible thing happen in America where a black man was killed, George Floyd, and it sort of sparked, the Black Lives Matter um, movement. Um, what what are your feelings about this? Do you have any kind of insights? What do you think it is we can do to better the situation?
I I actually, yo, when news like this comes up and you see constantly just the amount of police brutality happening in the States and now here in South Africa,
Yeah,
it it actually it actually shocks me sometimes of how numb we actually have become to seeing a death rate on TV
yeah,
of, let's say, someone goes into a school and does a shootout and a lot of children die. We've become so numb to it,
yeah,
and I don't actually know where we can start to actually solve it, because it starts up here with your mind and correcting that and thinking, but hey, this isn't normal. We
yeah,
shouldn't be thinking that this is normal, because this is far from it. And when you see things happening like that with the killing of George Floyd, and you just think of how humanity has gone down. I honestly think that, especially in the police forces, they go through so much trauma actually every single day. Just going to work in such a high risk working field, that
yeah,
surely along the way they have some form of PTSD or something.
yeah,
So maybe getting them to see people on a regular basis in those departments, getting them individually to see a therapist or something, help them deal with that PTSD. If it's, let's say, it's something now not racism, it's actually just something psychological, then having them to see someone work through their PTSD so that things like senseless killings don't happen where they just suddenly snap and they go after this.
yeah,
But racism is just something that we all just constantly, we need to speak about it. It should
yeah,
not be something that is silent. We should be vocalizing every single day about our experiences and why it isn't right,
yeah,
because some people still are living in that mentalities that they have gotten from their forefathers of how they lived, and why it's right to be racist to someone just with a different skin texture, skin tone, a different hair,
yeah,
all of those things. We should be educating one another on why it is wrong to think like that until it somehow just sinks in. Because I think that if you hear something a little every single day, the more you hear it, it will sink in eventually. But yeah, I actually don't know what more we could
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, as you say, I think the first step anyway is conversation. Um, and not letting it go, so to speak. It's like one can very easily feel like a broken record, for bringing up all of this stuff all the time. But
Yes,
it is important to constantly engage in the conversation. Um,
definitely.
so that it becomes, yeah, it becomes, it sinks in, as you say.
No
Uh,
matter how uncomfortable it would be, definitely.
yeah. Yeah, and then the other sort of slightly um, troublesome part of our existence in South Africa recently, as the thing that has come up, is gender-based violence. Um, the sort of senseless attacks and killings of women in our country, and in fact all over the world, but it seems to be a particular problem in South Africa. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, again, do you have any thoughts on this?
Um, I think when I hear this, I'm immediately transported back to last year when Nene went missing, and I was staying in Cape Town at that moment, so close to where the police the post office is,
Yeah,
and I just remember just feeling so panicky all the time. And I mean, when I went to Stella and Bosch already, I had gotten myself some pepper spray, and now you would be walking with it in broad daylight now, not even just at night, just gripping onto it, and then just this constant panic of, is she okay? What? And then the day I remember that we found out that they found her body, I can't even explain how how locked inside myself I had felt.
yeah,
I had felt like I wasn't a human, that us as women, we don't get to experience life the way we are supposed to, because
yeah,
we are walking in the street, but we can't just walk to the shop. We are constantly having to think of, okay, that's what we must go buy. But also while I'm walking, I need to constantly look over my shoulder. Oh, that person over there looks dodgy, but you could also not be dodgy. I'm overthinking. Oh, there's another person. No, 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 no. Don't think. Just look straight ahead, Robyn, but grip your pepper spray very tightly. And I think we are stripped away of just having to live a normal and healthy life and think of all these things at the same time, that it just takes so much strain on ourselves and our mental health. And I just it just fathoms, I can't even fathom why it is all happening, but I think it is once again rooted in trauma
yeah,
from all the years. And I think the way we have to start working on it is to work with men and to work on that deep rooted issues that they find themselves having, and healing them so that they can be better, so that they can help heal the next generation, that they can help heal each other in their friendships. Because until that moment comes where they are fully healed on the inside, I don't think that this is going to go away. And that is such a scary thing and a sad thing to say. But we definitely need to start thinking of um, bringing more trauma counselors in, and helping men, and getting big groups, and just just helping each other, healing each other. And it was so weird. On the other night, I saw on TV this, I don't know if she's a psychologist or psychiatrist, but she had said in the studying field, the percentage of POCs studying psychology is so in the minority actually. And we think always as us at POCs that getting your mental health checked out and trauma healed is actually a luxury. It might be a white person thing. And I think if more POCs were to go into that field and then take it back to their communities and help start healing there, we'd be more encouraged to go and seek help when we feel that we need to, because I feel like especially in the colored community, mental health is such a taboo. So
Yeah.
nothing comes of it because we will be laughed at, we will just be ridiculed, and it's nothing. So
Yeah.
we need to start looking at it in that way, heal the trauma, and hopefully then men will do better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Uh, yeah, you know, the professional help side of stuff, I think is always so crucial. And there is, as you mentioned, you know, amongst our communities, but I think, you know, widespread all over the world, but I think it's, you know, especially in our communities in South Africa as people of color, um,
Mm.
there is this sort of shame and embarrassment about you know, mental health and mental, you know, well-being and engagement, you know, with mental issues. You know, I mean, and you know, this is, for instance, why I feel so passionate about having, you know, this is why I started this, for instance, you know, to have these conversations, you know, because I remember feeling so alone and so isolated years when I was going through stuff, you know, just because nobody around me, you know, was expressing, um, you know, these struggles, you know, that I seem to be going through, and it is easy to think that there's something wrong with you, or you know, and then it takes that much longer to engage in the conversation. So I can completely relate to that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um, so, you know, I know that there are so many young people, older people, young women, young men who look up to you and admire what you're doing. Um, who are some of the no, don't be, you know, don't, you know, take it. Look, you know, but who are some of the people who inspire you? Who are some of the people who, you know, yeah, inspire you, motivate you?
Um, Fool. I think away from the entertainment industry, I have to say, and I know a lot of people say it, but it's my mother and my granny. My mother is a single parent, and she raised me all the years alone while teaching, and then coming home and still spending time with me. And she made ends meet all the years, and always told me not to worry about anything. And so she is someone I look up to so much, because I always think of myself, if I was in her situation, um, falling pregnant and being a single parent, how would I have dealt with it?
Right.
And I don't think I was an easy child to raise, especially when I got to my teenage years.
Right.
Um, so for dealing with me through all of that, I commend her. So I look up to her so much, and to my granny as well, for for always being there, for being my second mother, for just supporting me through everything. Um, when it comes to the entertainment industry with people I look up to, whew, that's a locally, I someone I admire a lot is Charlton George.
Uh-huh.
Um, he he's such a soft-natured person, and I saw a lot of myself in him, because he would tell me about how in the past he was too shy to speak up, and he never wanted to say anything about how he felt in this industry. And he would just take anything, even when people were hurting him. And I felt like I could resonate with that. I would say yes to everything because I was too scared to say no. And you are such a soft, kind person that you allow people to walk over you all
Yeah.
the time. And
Yeah.
so you were someone I looked up to because he has managed to, in through his years of long years in being this industry, he has managed to still keep that soft nature but be firm. And so I look up to him, and he inspires me a lot in finding that piece of myself where I now have to get the guts now to be more firm with people and not let people walk over me. So in the industry, I definitely say Charles and George. Yeah.
No, amazing. Yeah. Look, Robyn, I could go on talking to you for hours, but just as a last thing, I asked this to all of my guests. There's this beautiful quote by Horace Mann that and that goes, "Be ashamed to die until you have scored a victory for humankind." What is that thing that you want to leave the world with before you depart?
You're asking me a very deep question. Oh my word. I think personally, I never want to lose my kind nature and my soft nature, as I said previously. And I hope that with every person I meet, I get to leave a little bit of that with them,
Yeah,
because there is such a fashion these days, that I see it's cool to be heartless. It's cool not to care
yeah,
and not to show your real emotions. And it's cool to be very rude to people. And so I think that is one thing I would love to leave as a legacy, always being kind no matter what.
yeah,
And letting that sink into everyone's heads, and maybe see something of me doing that makes them also want to show a bit more kindness to the next person. And I think that is the legacy that I would like to leave, and I hope that I get to do that before, with a lot of people before I die one day.
oh wow, no, amazing. Robyn, thank you ever so much for giving up some of your time. It's been
You.
really, really lovely chatting to you. I wish you all of the luck, uh, with your career and your with your future projects. I think you have an exciting career ahead of you, and I'm excited to see what you come up with. But
Thank you
yeah,
again.
but I love your empathy. I love your compassion, and your kind nature, and it's been great. Thank you ever so much for joining.
So much. Thank you for having me here, and I wish all the blessings on your life and your path as well.
Thank
Please stay this nice person, understanding person that you are.
Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you so much. Much